one, go.
We're back, brothers and sisters. You're listening to the National Action Network Saturday Action Rally, coming to you live on WLIV 1190 AM, streaming to you, and in the 10 o'clock hour on Impact Television Network. I'd like you to get on your feet right now for the president and founder of the National Action Network, the Reverend Dr. Al Sharpton.
No justice!
No peace!
No justice!
No peace!
No justice!
No peace!
No justice!
No peace!
What do we want?
Justice!
What do we want?
Justice!
What do we want?
Justice!
When do we want it?
Now!
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 Hug the person next to you, tell them you love them. National Action Network, change choir, give them a big hand. Give them a big hand. Certainly we're happy to be with you another Saturday morning for the Saturday Action Rally, and for you that are here at the House of Justice, 106 West 145th Street in the village of Harlem. And you that are listening live on 1190 WLIV AM in New York. We're happy to be with you another Saturday morning where the action is. Give a hand out, presider, Attorney Michael Hardy, and to our Northeast Regional Director, Minister Kirsten John Ford. Certainly we are excited about tomorrow, the African American Day Parade, and we all will be present, and we are all excited about being part of the proceedings that we are all going to be marching. I want everybody to march with the National Action Network tomorrow, you that are listening on radio, to be a part of that. Let me say that it is extremely important to me what the city controller talked about this morning. I think that when we deal with the issues of diversity and the issues of economic empowerment, that it is imperative that we understand that we are talking about our money as a public and as public taxpayers. And what the city controller has done and has worked with us over the years is to make sure that that money is dealt with where it is dealt with in a way that returns money to the city, but at the same time includes people that have been excluded before. See, one of the things that I think we've got to be sensitive about is that a lot of us must understand that performance must match the doors being open. Otherwise, you hurt us that are trying to open the door. I remember when I was a youngster, just getting in the movement, we would say, we can march to get you into school, but that means you got to study. Marching to get you access education is our job. Getting A's on your report is your job. And what we have asked those that handle public funds is that they make it possible, y'all got too much echo now, that they make it possible for us to deal with the competition based on merit. We in the past have been excluded from even being able to compete. Look at what happened in baseball. When Jackie Robinson broke the color line, he also could play. So when he would steal first or steal second and run home and stole home plate to score, the team won. Had Jackie Robinson not been able to play, it would have hurt the movement that made it possible for him to break the color line. The reason I break that down is because I think that many of us don't understand when you hear Scott Stringer and others say that they will open the doors. They are doing something that is of value to the city, value to the state or whatever it is they're over. But at the same time, it shows the stark unfairness that preceded them by those that wouldn't even let us compete. One thing to say, y'all flunk, is another thing to say, I'm not even going to let y'all in the room.
Come on, come on.
The subject that he talked about this morning, that many of us, you've heard John Rogers and others at our convention, of putting diversity in the boardroom. Well, let me tell you why that's important. If you're in the boardroom, then you decide where the contracts go, where the employment goes, where the job escalation or job promotions go. The problem is we're not in the room. We fought and was able to get the governor with Reverend Green and others to deal with LaGuardia. First time in history we have blacks that have a 10% equity in LaGuardia. That's only because we fight it. But by them having equity, they're in the room. Because as the controller would tell you, he ain't got nothing to do with LaGuardia other than him and I running through there to catch a plane somewhere. But as he can tell you, if you have equity in an airport or in a situation, you're in the room, they will decide in that room who gets the concession stands, the restaurants, the news and gift shops, the clothing shops, the bananas, all that at the airport. That's where the money's made. You run for the plane and buy a newspaper, that's a lot of money who owns that newsstand. who owns the fast food franchise. That's a lot of money. That is decided in the room. If we're not in the room, you never have access to making those appeals. So the reason why you can go through Atlanta Airport and they have a black-owned restaurant that sells soul food in the airport is that Maynard Jackson put blacks in the room. So every time when Kirsten used to travel with me, before he became the big Northeast guy, he used to travel with me. Kirsten used to love to go to Atlanta so he could buy some of that fried chicken and eat it up on the plane while I was on my swell vegetarian diet. But he couldn't get that in other airports. It is not about eating soul food, it's about making income that hires people, and it is our public dollars that build the airport. So Scott said if we in the city that is 60% black and brown, then why aren't the boards reflecting the population? 60% of this city is black and brown. But look at the percentage of blacks and browns on the boards. Yet we give public tax breaks to these companies. Yet we do all kind of dealing. The goal, Andrew Cuomo said it goes 30%, which we gonna make us get to. But we should make the goal as high as we can, but compete so that we can make it valid. Y'all with me so far? So we're glad to hear what the controller said. Give him a big hand. And he and others will be working with us. This Thursday, let us welcome our family that has joined us now on Impact Television all over the country. Give them a big hand, our Impact TV family. We will on this Thursday at the Congressional Black Caucus have a whole national workshop on this. National Action Network, along with Senator Cory Booker, dealing with how we invest dollars, how we compete to get into the financial services level at the level of our population. But once we get the doors open, we want our people to not embarrass us. Let me tell you something. Just like I holler to get you in, I'm going to holler you out if you get in there and embarrass us. I remember when my mother took me to school, she told the teacher, teach him, because I was in one of the first year that they sent us to Flatbush. Which was a white community. I was in the first where we had to get on the bus from Brownsville and go to Flatbush. And she said, you teach them like you teach the other kids, talking about the white kids. And you make sure y'all don't shortchange them. But here's my phone number. If you act up, call me. You know, I grew up at a time where they call your mama. And they didn't have 311 then for if your mama threatened you physically. I'm not endorsing that. But my mama never heard about no, you couldn't whip your child. That's been the last decade or so. If I had any idea that you could stop your mama from whipping you, I would have had a different childhood. I turned into a track star when I got there. I could run through our little apartment like a track star really should. So I want y'all to know I'm like my mama. I've told the controller and everybody else, open up them doors, but if they act up, don't reprimand them, call me. I will handle them because they're embarrassing all of us. Let me say this, that today we are dedicating our live TV broadcast and our radio broadcast in New York to our brother, beloved leader extraordinaire, Brother Dick Gregory. Dick Gregory will be funeralized this afternoon in Washington. And because of prior commitments, family invited me to come. I cannot get there, but I said I would put a few minutes of our broadcast aside to honor him because he meant so much to us. I was very moved the other day, just yesterday, when the son of Dick Gregory sent his book, his last book, to me at the office. We're going to do something on the television show. And we are definitely moved by reading some of what he wrote about Dr. King and Reverend Jackson and myself in his last book. And I wanted, before I get into my message today, a special memorial message about Dick Gregory from one who knew him, worked with him down through the years, and who he admired and respected. And I've asked him to come and give us a few moments of memory of the meaning to him of Dick Gregory from our own icon here in New York. And I want you around the nation, nationally, to listen to the words of the presiding bishop of the House of the Lord Church as he remembers Dick Gregory, Bishop Herbert Daughtry.
No justice?
No peace.
No justice?
No peace.
All right, all right, all right. How honored I am to be here today, to be in the presence of the people that I love here at NAN, and especially the Reverend Al Sharpton. You know, I love to say publicly how much I admire you, how much I appreciate the work that you've done. It is not only the monumental achievements, which would take a ton of books to record, but it is what you had to overcome to achieve. Some of us have great things thrust upon us. Some of us have families that leave stuff to us. But you've been able to achieve greatness with 2 strikes on you and still have been able to knock the ball out of the park. You mentioned Dick Gregory. Yes, Dick Gregory in his book called you a human magnet. The most amazing thing about, one of the most amazing things is that you've been a magnet, but you've used that magnetism to call attention to our people's situation. So, somewhere in the distant future, when truth gets a hearing, and historians will be able to write without bias, they will surely record that you were one of the brightest stars in our galaxy. I would feel remiss if I did not mention there were 2 other persons, 2 pillars of our community which passed around the time of Dick Gregory. Robert Taylor, the son of Viola Plummer, and we were at the funeral the 16th of August, and we all agreed that Viola had birthed a son in her image, courageous, sagacious, consistent Afrocentric, Pan-Africanist, a true freedom fighter. And the other person is Lenora Morris. Lenora Morris, better known as Mama Morris, was the mother to so many of us, including my grandson that she used to mother and keep. And we all came to bid her farewell. So it was a long line of people who all loved her and wanted to honor her, Mama Morris. And so we've come now to remember Dick Gregory. It seemed that I've known him all of my life. Before I got to know him personally, I would read anything and everything about him, watch him on television. And later, we were together in many meetings, rallies, press conferences, and we campaigned together for the Reverend Jesse Jackson during that great run for the presidency. It was Super Tuesday, 1984. We had come out of New Hampshire with 6% of the vote. Now don't think that's nothing. After all, everything up there is white. 6% of the vote, and we were headed to Super Tuesday. And Jesse had asked me to campaign in Georgia. Well, Georgia, I grew up in Georgia, born in Savannah, Georgia. Spent time in Augusta, Georgia. And my father had started a church there, sent there by Bishop Grace, until he became Sweet Daddy Grace. And then my father servatized and started the House of the Lord Church in 1930. So I was delighted. It was dreamy stuff to be back in Georgia, campaign for the brother that I love and mentor to all of us, Reverend Sharpton included, and to be campaigning for the presidency of the United States of America. And then to top it all off, I was told that I would be campaigning with Dick Gregory. We met in Atlanta, Georgia, and made the usual campaign rounds. And Dick was his usual humorous self, using humor in persuading people to vote for Jesse Jackson. We had the time of our lives. It is said that humorists are brilliant people. We know that to be true with Dick Gregory. Additionally, he was committed to a world of peace and justice for all. Toward that end, he worked tirelessly and fasted often, not for personal reasons, but for humanitarian causes. It was the fasting, however, that contributed to his death. I'm told the long years of fasting weakened his heart, which failed him in the hospital as he had other health conditions. Similarly to my brother Jacob, who had one kind of problem, but his heart failed him in the operation. Dick Gregory personified his sacrifice and commitment at great costs. He gave up fame and fortune to be in the battle for human rights. He followed the tradition of Paul Robeson, of Harry Belafonte, and others, who understood that the artistic gifts were not meant for their self-aggrandizement alone, but for the cause of a better world. Oh, would to God that others would go and do likewise. What a tremendous change would be across our communities, say, if our celebrities or our millionaires and billionaires would say, I'm going to adopt the neighborhood from whence I've come. What a change there would be. Dick Gregory had a heart of tender compassion, although there were times he would show tough demeanor. Even then, you could see that beyond the exterior there was humor. I always felt that he was laughing at us and with us. I remember a press conference that we attended. Reverend Al was there. In fact, he had put together this march to Washington. And I had mentioned to Dick Gregory I wasn't sure I made the right decision. My daughter was born on August 27th. The march was August 28th, and everybody was gearing up for the march. And I said, I don't know if I made the right decision on whether to stay home with my wife and daughter or to go to the march. And I said, I decided I would stay home with my wife. And Dick Gregory said, Reverend, you made the right decision, because I decided I would come to the march, and I haven't seen my son since. Well, I thought at the time he was just relieving my anxiety, but I learned that he was probably talking about his son that died in childbirth, that he never saw. And again, his influence on me and his contribution indeed to the world was his insistence upon our eating right. I read his book, Cooking with Mother Nature, and it had a profound impact upon my life. I became vegan for about 30-some years now. It saved my life. I had and I would not have survived had I not followed Dick Gregory's advice as articulated in the book, Cooking with Mother Nature. He made great contributions for justice. Yes, he made great contributions for freedom. He made great contributions. But two that we think little of, that is the humor. The Bible says, a merry heart doeth good like a medicine. Yeah. Dick Gregory, making us laugh, saved our life. Secondly, he saved our lives in his health program. Many of us are alive today because of Dick Gregory. And he gave his life that we might live and that our people might advance both health-wise, both with humor, and both toward freedom. Thank you very much.
Bishop Herb Dodson. I think it's appropriate that we stop and that we sometimes remember and keep in the mind's eye those that paved the way for us. And no one could articulate that better than he who has done the same in his own life, and that is, of course, Bishop Herbert Daughtry. Give him another hand. Let me say that it is a couple of issues I want to deal with and get into my message. You that are watching us on Impact that have a problem or need of a prayer, our people are at the phones right now. A lot of people called and said, I did not know y'all pray for people. But I don't know how they think we fight. Right. I would not call somebody for prayer that ain't never been through nothing. Yes, sir. Come on. This is the best folks to call is those of us that's been in battle. Because then you know our prayers must work. Because we still here. If you tune in on Saturday, we still here. You know our prayers work. We weren't hiding under the bed. We were actively working. So you can call right now, 1-877-626-4651, 1-877-626-4651, and make your prayer request. As well as if you have a problem that you need one of our chapters of National Action Network to look into, that you can call and register that. There are people at the phone right now. One of the things, I was in Los Angeles this week, and I was absolutely outraged when I heard about Jemele Hill at ESPN. Jemele Hill, on her personal Twitter, talked about her feelings of the president and saying he surrounded himself with white supremacists. Now, whether you agree with that or not, for the president then to tweet against ESPN, the president now, And then for the press secretary of the president to stand in the White House press room and say she should be fired is to intimidate and threaten and violate the constitutional rights of freedom of speech in this country. She should be fired for saying that she believes his policies represent and his surroundings represent white supremacy, which is her political point of view. She did not call him a racial name. She did not call him out his name. She identified a political and social philosophy she feels he is guilty of. Now, the reason that, for 2 points, the reason that it is so horrible to me is we are talking about a president who campaigned all over this country saying Barack Obama was not born in the United States and had no problem saying a sitting president was not a real American and was fraudulently sitting in the White House. But when somebody raises white supremacy to him, they'll lose their job. How hypocritical can you get than to have the face of Bretherism talk about what you should not be able to say about him?
Come on now.
That's one. Secondly, when you deal with the fact that all TV and radio stations are regulated by the FCC, Federal Communications Commission, right? The FCC commissioners nominated by the White House. So when you have Ms. Huckabee Sanders standing in the White House with the White House emblem behind her, saying she should be fired, she is speaking from the place that the regulators get nominated from, and it leads to attempted or perceived intimidation of people that have to come to the White House to deal with FCC business. That is not just some commentator saying that. So I want ESPN to be real clear that you have the option of turning Ms. Hill into a terminated employee, but you don't have the option from stopping us from terminating watching ESPN. If ESPN violates her rights, then we will exercise our rights. Because we have the right to protect the right of people's views and opinions in this country, and we cannot sit by. She did not say her views on their station. She did not do it on the airwaves. She had the right to use private Twitter. Whether you agree with it or not, say you disagree. But to terminate her based on intimidation from the White House is unacceptable to a civil rights community and civil rights leadership. This whole atmosphere of people being silenced because of protest. This whole atmosphere of people, you can't play football no more if you get on your knee and protest. Kaepernick still has no assignment, no employment, no job. Tomorrow in Atlanta, Mary Pat Hector and National Youth Move of Nash Action Network is protesting at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium for the home game, saying, no Kaepernick, we shouldn't be going to the game. they had a entertainer called Kid Rock that was touring the country saying, F anybody that gets on their knees. And they had him open a casino as an opening act for a casino in Detroit. Reverend Charles Williams of National Action Network Detroit led hundreds to protest him. We're going to stand up for Kaepernick, Jamel Hill, and anybody else to protect their right to protest. Why are we protesting? Why don't you deal with the issue rather than deal with the protest? That's like going to the hospital because you're in pain and the nurses get around and argue about how loud you yelling rather than why you in pain. You reacting to the reacting of a situation rather than dealing with the situation. Well, why y'all screaming? Because I'm in pain. Well, we need to discuss how loud you screaming. No, discuss the issue of my pain. So I can only conclude, if you're more concerned about how I react to pain than what's causing pain, then you must be the cause of my pain. Look what happened in St. Louis yesterday. Cop acquitted for killing a man. Said that he chased him on a drug deal, shot him 5 times, and claimed he thought he was going for a gun. And the prosecutor said it appears the cop put the gun in the car because there was no DNA from the victim on the gun. Now, I believe in miracles, but how did a man handle a gun and his DNA not get on the gun? Only one's DNA on the gun was the cop's DNA. And they all in the media is reacting to the demonstrations. And I believe totally nonviolence. But first deal with the fact here is another case where a policeman walked after killing someone. But that is why I tell you, we said at the 1,000 Ministers March, it ended up over that, way over, that we must change these laws. First of all, talk about public servants. One of the things we've said from the beginning in National Action Network, anybody doing public work on public payroll, like policemen, should not have the option of having a judge's only bench trial. If you are doing something on public taxpayer dollars, and you are doing your public job at the time, then the public ought to decide your guilt or innocence. Don't forget now, this man's given a badge of the state and a gun paid by taxpayers. And then he goes out and performs an act. But he goes to court and say, no, the taxpayers, they should hear the evidence. One judge should. A judge who depends on the politics of the county, who's interconnected with the police department. We have never seen a bench trial where a judge would go after policemen no matter what the evidence was. They should not be allowed to do that. So our tax dollars should dictate that if you work for us, you'll be judged by a jury of your peers. Now, you know, I know the right wing don't like that. They start trialing already. You know, they love to get on my Twitter and Facebook account. And every time I talk about how they should treat taxpayers, wait a Reverend Al, don't you owe taxes? I'm here every Saturday. I'm on TV live every Sunday morning. I'm on radio every day. Don't y'all know that ain't nobody looking for me? They could find me. I mean, are you not stupid? Ain't nobody looking for me. I mean, how idiotic can you be to go to my Instagram page and write under a photo of me telling everybody where I am that the tax folk is looking for me? Well, then how did you find me? We must address the issue of protecting protests, whether it be Kaepernick, whether it be him or anybody else. Because let me tell you something, they are trying to silence dissent. Why? Because they want to roll back all the achievements that have been made. One of the things this week that was, every once in a while, things happen that gives you a lot of, that really gives you a lot of encouragement. There was a chief judge that wrote an article and about bringing down statues and all. And in the article said, well, everybody ought to be forgiven. The governor and the mayor forgave Reverend Al for what he did in Crown Heights 25 years ago, and Freddie's fashion store started to burn down here. And Attorney Michael Hardy, our general counsel on his own, said, wait a minute, forgive him for what? What did he do in Crown Heights?
That's right.
But they lied so long that some of them stopped believing the lie. When they had the riot in Crown Heights, I was living in New Jersey. I didn't even know there was a riot going on. The family called me the next day, and this was after they had the riot, after the man had been killed. But they blamed me for a riot and a death that I was there 24 hours later. That's one. I'm just figuring out to straighten out the record since Hardy wrote it. And it really touched me because Hardy didn't have to do it. He took, usually, Hardy is, like cool and, nothing rattles him.
Right.
Be in the office, somebody can tell the receptionist, I need to see Reverend Sharpton. What? To blow his brains out. They hit Hardy. There's a man out here want to blow Reverend Sharpton's brains out. He says, well, check his gun, see if he got a license, call me back. I mean, you're nuts rattle here. But he corrected this because it is part of the spirit of distortion and quieting dissent. Let me tell that lie. I told Jews to pin their yarmulkes down and come to my house. No, there was a guy named Mordecai Levy, who had been convicted of terrorist threats, who announced he was coming to New Jersey and march on the home of Herb Daughtry and Al Sharpton and was going to cut my hair off while he was there. I said, well, tell him to pin his down, talk about hair, and come on. I'm talking about a convicted terrorist threat. I wasn't talking about Jews.
That's right.
But that's the lie they tell. Well, Reverend Al talked about diamond merchants in Crown Heights. No, get the transcript. In the eulogy of Gavin Cato, who was killed, and the family asked me to come there after the riot. I went and helped work with them and did the eulogy at the funeral. I said that we've got to stop behavior in Crown Heights, whether it's blacks snatching pocketbooks from each other on Eastern Parkway, or those that are trading apartheid diamonds, like Oppenheimer, because this was 91 before Mandela even got out of jail, and we were protesting those that were doing exchanges with apartheid South Africa. That's what I said.
Break it down.
But they will distort you. Why? Because they want to discredit you so they will not have to deal with the issues. Don't forget now, the first thing they did, Dr. King, was indict him for income tax evasion. People forget that. Martin Luther King was indicted, state of Alabama, when right after Montgomery boycott said he was stealing money from the movement. They will always try to discredit you so they don't have to deal with what you say. That's why if you're going to right wrong, if you're going to fight this battle, you got to be strong enough to take the wiles of the devil. That's why this is a church-based organization, unapologetically, because you got to be strong enough. And the strength does not come from your external. Your strength comes from your internal. That's why I tell people to call here and pray. I got people at the phone that have been through something. I don't want nobody praying for me that ain't never been through nothing. I don't want nobody leading me that ain't never been through nothing. You know, I fly a lot. Went to California this week, there and back. 24 hours. Going next week to Ireland after the rally, and on to South Africa. I'll go wherever I need to go, do what we got to do. Good days, bad days, early, late, doesn't matter to me. The only time I won't get on the plane, those that travel, kids used to travel with me, Chris travel with me now. Only time I won't get on the plane is if they tell me it's the pilot's first trip. They be there on the corridor, and they say, it's all right, we check, he got his pilot's license, he been to pilot school, I got that. But just something about the thought. First time we go up and he's in charge, and we hit some clouds and he ain't never been in charge of the radar before. I don't want to be up there the first time he figured that out. Or we get to flying and hit a little turbulence, and he ain't never been in charge of the flight before. I don't want to be up there. What am I saying? A lot of y'all like folk praying for y'all and like folk running with y'all that ain't never been through nothing. I go places and people say, Reverend Al, I'd like to work for you in the network. I've got a pristine background. I got no marks on my character. Nobody dislikes me. Look at my resume. Everything is perfect. Well, you don't need to hang out with me. Because if you ain't never been through nothing, I don't know if you can get through nothing. I like to hang out with folk that been talked about, that's been scandalized, that's been knocked down and had to get up, that had to cry all night long and didn't know if sunshine was coming. Those that's been dragged through the mud and somehow God picked them up and cleaned them off. If you've been through something, then I know you can get through something. If you ain't never been through nothing, you just guessing what God can do. But if you've been through the fire, if you've been through the floods, if you made it sometimes by yourself, then you know what God can do because He done it for you. I look at Gwen Carr, Eric Gardner's mother, killed 3 years ago, chokehold by police sitting here. Birthday was yesterday. Broken heart, the child she brought in this world. Should have buried her. She had to bury him. But she has the strength to help other parents. Because she's been through something. Don't fret it when you go through something. Use it to make you stronger. Because God can't use no weak soldiers in battle. And that's why we are losing a lot, Salam Ishmael, is we have people that are weak, that are unprepared for battle. A bunch of pampered prophets. They ain't never been to battle. Sitting around lounging, resting from non-work. We need some working warriors that'll stand up against the powers of this world, that'll stand up against darkness, that'll stand up because it was standing up that brought us this far. So, well, Reverend Al, I don't know that much about Medgar Evers and Fannie Lou Hamer. What, did you ever hear David? You ever hear Jeremiah? You ever hear Amos? You claim to be a Christian, you claim to be a biblical scholar. They were all in the Bible. They fought the powers of their time. You don't have no faith if you're scared to stand up and fight the wicked in high places. If you scared to go live, then you're not a follower of David.
Yes, sir.
Sitting up at the table talking about, say your Bible verse, the Lord is my shepherd. Don't quote David if you scared to go live.
Right now.
If you really believe that the Lord is your shepherd, then get your slingshot ready. If you believe he can bring you through the shadows and the valley of death, then wear your 5 smooth stones in your slingshot. I believe it. That's why I'm not scared to go live. That's why I'm not scared of Trump or nobody else. For God made giants for Davids to bring down. I'll tell you this and let you go. I'm really talking to somebody out there that needs to call and get their head on. A lot of y'all got your head wrong. Y'all see all of this, oh, we about to lose everything, oh, Trump this, oh, the Republicans that, and he playing all kind of games. Gonna have dinner one night with Pelosi and Schumer. Then gonna say something else the next day, then gonna tweet. He just got y'all just chasing yourself like a hamster. Just game. See, I'm from New York, where he's from. I know game when I see it. I'll throw this out, then I'll throw that out, then this, then that. Games!
That's it.
But if your faith is solid, you can walk undeterred. I was thinking about last week in the middle of Hurricane Irma, ravaging the Virgin Islands, ravaging the Caribbean, ravaging Florida. Right after Hurricane Harvey had run and ravaged through Texas. And I thought about in the Bible, Bishop Darch, I was getting ready to go preach at St. James. And I started going through different storms in the Bible. And there was one storm, Kirsten, that I thought about. It was a brief storm, wasn't a hurricane, but it was the part in the Bible where Jesus had been ministering. And Jesus said to his disciples, let's go over the lake to the other side. And the Bible said when they got in the boat, Jesus went to sleep. And they got in the storm. And I told you about that last week. But then there was another storm where they looked and saw Jesus coming in the middle of the storm. It was a different storm now than I gave you last week. And when he was coming, first of all, you got to be able to see in the middle of a storm. They never saw Jesus walking if they were so panic-stricken they wasn't looking. Somebody watching me right now is in the middle of a storm, and you more caught up in the storm than looking out from the storm. Your house in such disarray, everybody bothering you, your job going, financial crisis. You got to be able to look in the middle of your storm. Then when you can see out of the storm, quit looking at the wind and look out of the storm. Quit looking at the raindrop, look out of the storm. Quit looking at your pain, look out of the storm. Because if you catch Jesus walking your way out of the storm, Peter said, Lord, beckon for me to come. Let me walk out of this storm. Let me walk on water. And Jesus called unto him to come to him. Y'all ever been through something and God called you out of it? And as he walked on the water through the storm, his problem was his buddies started talking. Look at this. Who does he think he is? Mocking him and going through all kind of arranging, because what are you doing walking on water? You ain't got no degree to walk on water. You ain't studied water walking. What are you doing out there walking? And he stopped listening to Jesus and started sinking in the water. The reason you keep sinking is you keep listening to the wrong folk. If you keep your eye on him and your ears are tuned to him and stop listening to others, they in the boat going down. You need to listen to what will save you and bring you out. I don't read what folk write about me. I don't care what folks say about me. If it was left up to them, I'd have drowned long time ago. But he picked me up and called me to walk on water. I know you don't know how I'm walking, but you didn't call me out. He called me out. He made my way. He taught me. Miracles are happening if you answer my call. Everybody's saying. Everybody's saying. Everybody's singing. Hey, sing it like you mean it. Sing it like you mean it. Sing it like you mean it. Hey, we want justice. Got to have justice. We want justice. One more time, y'all. One more time, y'all. One more time, y'all. Yeah. I'm gonna open the doors of the movement. There may be someone here in the House of Justice that never joined Nash Action Network. Someone listening on radio or watching us that never joined the organization. If you're here at the House of Justice, walk down either of the aisles to me and shake my hand. Let me sign you up. If you're watching on television or listening on radio, call us at 1-877-626-4651. 1-877-626-4651 and become a member of National Action Network. All you have to do is call right now. If you're here, just come on down to me and let me shake your hand and sign you up. Come on, everybody sing. you mean it. Yeah. Everybody now. Everybody sing. Everybody sing. One last time, y'all. One last time, y'all. Everybody sing. All right. As we sign in the new members, let me move quickly and take our offering. Want to raise our offering quickly. I need everybody to give to the best of their ability. Young or old. Brother Gray, why you looking at Tony Hardy when I said old? Wake him up, tell him I was talking about him on the radio. Didn't we enjoy Bishop Daughtry eulogy to Dick Gregory? I wanted that on the television program for people around the country to hear what he had to say. And that's our history. A lot of us don't understand when he talks about campaigning for Reverend Jackson in '84. Some of you that are older remember that. But some folk here that are young weren't even born in '84. Or were born in the late '70s. And they don't understand that there